How do we stay relevant, grounded, and deeply human in a world that's changing faster than ever before?
Every career goes through its ups and downs. The dark alleys that I have been down have been that of a lack of confidence, feeling a sense of inadequacy. One of the things that I believe that corporate executives and indeed any entrepreneur needs to find time for reflection. We are between meetings, we are between making deals all the time. And in that period, we don't stop to reflect and say, what the hell am I doing?
A lot around us is a lot more volatile, challenging, and unpredictable than what it used to be maybe 5 years ago. Be it the advent of AI, be it the current geopolitics, be it everything that is happening around us. With that unpredictability, a lot of professionals often find themselves not having answers and not even know what questions to ask.
Opportunities come in accidents, and sometimes you have to embrace it. Never turn down an opportunity that comes accidentally to you. Sometimes it might just be a pathway to greater success and happiness that you're not aware of. But many times we turn it down because we feel that that's not good enough for me. And I think this belief that something is not good enough for me stuffs out opportunities that might actually make you shine even more than you thought you would.
What does success change in us? What does it cost?
Success is always relative. You introduced me as the chairman and managing director of Nestle India. There are bigger and bolder and better and more story honchos of companies. So success is always relative. Happiness is absolute. Happiness is what you have achieved, that you are happy about, and that is only you.
A very important aspect of people and their careers is planning their career. What does career planning mean, and how should someone getting into or in their mid-career plan career in 2026? Hello and welcome to the Career Shifts podcast. This season, we have been exploring a question that feels urgent than ever before. How do we stay relevant, grounded, and deeply human in a world that's changing faster than ever before? Geopolitics is influencing business, markets, supply chains, and careers in real time. AI is changing the nature of work, and the meaning of expertise and expectations are being placed on professionals across levels. And for many people, especially those in mid-career, this is not just a change happening out there. It is also personal. Showing up in form of uncertainty, fatigue, identity questions, and growing need to rethink what will truly matter going forward. And that is what makes conversations like these extremely important. In this episode, I'm joined by someone whose leadership often offers both depth and perspective. Mr. Suresh Narayanan has spent 44 years in the FMCG, including 26 years in Nestle India, where he went on to become the chairman and the managing director. He led through one of the most defining crises in the Indian corporate history, the Maggie crisis of 2015, and played a central role in one of the most remarkable brand recoveries this country has ever seen. But beyond the scale, the titles, and the business outcomes, what stands out to me is something deeper. His steadiness in difficult times, his belief in people, his reflections on resilience, trust, humility, and leadership. And perhaps most importantly, his ability to help us think not just about success as achievement, but also about quieter, less visible side of it. I've been sitting with this idea for the months that I've been writing, especially the book, The Other Half of Success, which is now available on Amazon globally. Because the deeper questions around work and life do not begin after failure. Very often, they begin after success. What does success change in us? What does it cost? In this conversation, we will speak about career evolution, inner reinvention, crisis, relevance, and what I often think as the other half of success. Mr. Narayanan, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a real privilege to have you.
Thank you, Gopal. Thank you very much for having me on Career Shifts.
Wonderful. As we were beginning to record this episode, I was just sharing why why careers are important in 2026. I think a lot around us is a lot more volatile, a lot more challenging and unpredictable than what it used to be maybe 5 years ago. Be it the advent of AI, be it the current geopolitics, be it everything that is happening around us. And if you open any news channel, it will be like breaking news every minute or every second for that matter. So it's with that unpredictability, a lot of professionals often find themselves not having answers, perhaps, and not even know what questions to ask. And my endeavor over the last couple of years of running this podcast has been to have guests like yourselves who have been there, done that, and seen a lot more unpredictability than some of us, if I can say that. And how have you been able to overcome some of these? I would want to open this with a question on your career started totally different. I mean, you had different aspirations, and you ended up doing something totally different and spending the largest chunk of your career in Nestle. For people who may not be very well aware about your career trajectory, and since this is Career Shifts podcast, if you could share some light on your career shifts.
I had my career in a different age and in a different time, and therefore it may not be entirely relevant to the kind of chaos and volatility that we are seeing today. But my corporate career was really an accident. It came out of a desire to participate in an interview of a company which was considered to be and is still considered to be a top-notch FMCG in order to get practice for a civil services interview. And lo and behold, when I landed up the job at Hindustan Unilever, or Hindustan Lever as it was then called, 44 years ago, it became a difficult choice. A choice between having a career in a corporate world, in a highly competitive space, in a place where I didn't have necessarily the competence, versus taking a shot at literally a lottery of the civil services, where I might land up either doing the service of choice or might land up doing something that is wholly distasteful for the rest of my career. It made me realize that opportunities come in accidents, and sometimes you have to embrace it. And I must say, Gopal, after completing my 44 years, I can say with all honesty, I couldn't have wished anything else better to have happened to me than what actually happened to me. So I did reasonably well, and I left a happy man and a content man, having not compromised on my values or my purpose in life, and having worked at three of the finest companies that I know on the planet as far as consumer goods are concerned: Hindustan Lever, Colgate, and Nestle. So that has been my journey. I can only share a piece of advice to all the young people joining this podcast. Never, never turn down an opportunity that comes accidentally to you. Sometimes it might just be a pathway to greater success and happiness that you're
Yeah,
not aware of. But many times we turn it down because we feel that that's not good enough for me. And I
yeah.
think this belief that something is not good enough for me sometimes snuffs out opportunities that might actually make you shine even more than you thought you would.
Yeah. No, very well said. One of the things that I did personally as well, this was 5 years ago, was to pursue an opportunity outside corporate, which was in academia. I went on to set up the School of Public Policy at IIM Ahmedabad. It was scary to say the least, but it kind of gave me a great amount of insights and belief that at the end of the day, we are in the world of people, and people across different. I mean, it could be industry, it could be academy, it could be institutions, it could be government, have similar challenges. And at the end of the day, if there is anything that you could do, that would be something that's beneficial for everybody. I got a lot of learnings through those 2 years that I spent at IMA. People often ask me, how did that happen? It's for anybody's guess. It was a simple process that most of the academic institutions follow, and I happened to apply to the role and I got through. So I completely agree. Never turn down an opportunity that comes by way. Age of careers today is a lot more, I would say, I mean, people make choices a lot more frequently compared to how you did in your 44 years of career. But I'm sure it was no less in terms of richness and diversity of experiences. I mean, you may have spent 26 years in Nestle, but I'm sure there wouldn't have been a day where you would have felt, oh, I'm not finding it challenging enough, right? And a lot of people, most often, who spend a little longer in a particular organization, and I mean, that still exists, which is a good thing as well, find a point of time in their life where they feel stuck. And I'm bringing this question from a reinvention angle, right? It's not that, I mean, people see the most recent part of your successful career, but I'm sure if you go back in time in history, you would have had to do a lot of work to constantly reinvent yourself. If you could walk us through how that initial stage of your career looked like and what made it possible for you to reinvent yourself every now and then.
Well, I think the fundamental difference between the careers that I enjoyed and what careers are evolving today is the fact that mine was at a time when hierarchy was like a ladder, almost like the ladder behind me. You had rungs to climb up, and you had reasonably defined periods of time when you
Yeah.
would get to it, provided you cleared certain hurdles in order to make it happen. So I must say the whole career sphere today has changed dramatically. So I can only talk about principles that I've used in recalibrating myself, but not the career trajectory because I don't think, I mean, at least in the next 5, 10, 15 years, I will come across people with 30, 40-year careers in companies. I mean, I
Yeah.
retired from a company like Nestle where doing 30 years or doing 35 years was de rigueur. I mean,
Yeah.
there were few of us who left earlier than that, and not that we didn't have opportunities. It is because we were
Yeah.
comfortable doing what we were doing. We liked the environment, we liked the opportunities, we liked the challenges, and we liked the fact that we had a comfortable life as well. And this is what kept us going for as long as, for me, 26 years. But I'm relatively a teenager compared to some of my colleagues who have spent even 35 to 40 years. And I used to have the privilege every year in my factory in Moga to give out 30 people 35-year awards. And it was the proudest day for them, aside from their marriage date, as they themselves revealed to me. So it's a very different era. But in this
Yeah.
different era, there are a few things that I think we can keep a pointer to. Number one is competence. I think competence and capability are things that you cannot uh, take for granted or you cannot afford to neglect at any stage of your career. When you start playing politics and when you start playing one-upmanship, you're in a different game altogether. But when you're playing in the game of competence and capability, you are playing in the game of performance and outcomes. And that is very important for any corporation, any organization, any entrepreneur. You have to have outcomes which are positive in terms of revenue, profit, growth, whatever matrix you use. So, therefore, focus on your competence and capability at all points in time. Number two, learn to be competitive. And learning to be competitive is not being ruthless, but learning to be competitive is to be like a sponge, learn from others what you should be knowing, and at least put in two or three tricks that you know that they don't. Because ultimately, organizations, whether they have ladder careers like the type that I enjoyed, or squiggly careers as they now call it, which is more experiential. You have a squiggly path to somewhere near the top, or may not even be the top, but that's not important. But in that squiggly path, you have to be competitive all the time, which means that there must be something in a Gopal or something in a Suresh that is uniquely differentiating for the assignment and for the role and for the challenge that you bring to the table. So never take your competence for granted. Always be competitive, and competitive in a positive sense. Competitive not in the sense of running down. Sometimes, we become victims of politics, or we become lazy saying, I will not play politics. Nobody's asking you to play politics. But the fact of the matter is that your boss and his boss must know that there is something in Gopal that is unique and that can be called upon at short notice in a difficult situation in order to bail out the company. And that's something that is what I mean by competitive. The third, which is important and becoming even more important in today's volatility, is ironically courage. I think courage is that element that we sometimes disdain, or we discount it because we think that our job is to be compliant. Compliant is not equal to courage. Courage is that quiet voice in your head that says there is a better way of doing things, and you say it uh, truthfully, and you say it politely, and you say it firmly. Courage is not telling your boss, who is Gopal, that which idiot promoted you, that you're sitting in that chair. That is a career limiting move, and that's foolishness. That's not courage. That is stupidity. But you need more and more people with courage, more and more people with confidence, and therefore courage plays an important role at any point in time in the build up to an executive career. The fourth C that I would like to call is credibility. Credibility is as sure as sunrise, as clear as a pond. No surprises. If you're a particularly nasty person, continue to be the nasty person. Because if the day you start sweet talking people, people will get very suspicious that Gopal has got some hidden agenda and that's why he's being sweet and nice to me. There's nothing wrong in being a difficult person, except that it helps others to prepare a coping mechanism for
Yeah.
them to deal with you.
Yeah.
But credibility is more important at difficult times, because credibility is that one characteristic that encompasses competence, courage, capability, and competitiveness over a period of time. And that credibility comes with experience and with having taken a few knocks and of having stood up and being counted when you should have. And incidentally, in a crisis, your credibility is more important than your CGPA. Nobody is going to look at whether you are from one of the premier institutions at the top of the class, or whether you are a laggard or a student of holding promise. So I
Yeah.
think credibility is extremely important. And the last one, which I think is becoming very, very important in this age, and especially in the age when people are being fired by being denied access to Slack or the email ID that they have got, rather than a polite, definitive, empathetic conversation, is compassion. I think leadership in the AI age is going to be all about empathy and compassion. How do you retain the human element in AI? AI is good, and AI will bring about benefits in terms of productivity. But if AI leads to 10,000 people losing their jobs, you have to be able to answer to your conscience that is that really necessary, or is there a way in which I can save some of these jobs? You may not be able to stop the tsunami, but you'll be able to contain the collateral damage. And that, I think, is an important element of leadership. So competence, credibility, courage, competitiveness, compassion are all important in the shaping of a leader. And that is something that you have to constantly do. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. But if you are on a path, finally, the sea of consistency, then you are able to make a much better balance of the equation between success and between happiness. And to me, Gopal, I have a thesis that in careers, it's happiness that is more important than success. Success is always relative. You introduced me as the chairman and managing director of Nestle India, right? There are bigger and bolder and better and uh, more storied honchos of companies. So success is always relative. Happiness is absolute. Happiness is what you have achieved, that you are happy about, and that is only you. Gopal Iyer has achieved something that he is happy, and whether Suresh achieves it or not is immaterial. It is
Yeah.
Gopal who is happy. Similarly, what Suresh has achieved and what he feels happy about is what is unique to Suresh. And I think that keeps your life on balance, and that keeps your perspectives on balance.
Very beautifully put. Incidentally, I wrote a book which is titled The Other Half of Success. I would love to gift you a copy of that as well. Exactly exploring the same thing as to we keep chasing titles, promotions, money, fame, glory, only to realize that that's probably only the one half or the myopic view of what success actually means. And there is a lot more that one has to actually work towards. As you were sharing the seven C's, Mr. Narayan, one of the things that stuck to me was the fact that a lot of leaders, especially in their mid careers, come to a stage where you have a sheer feeling of inability to negotiate, if I can say that.
Yeah.
And when I say that inability to negotiate, it is about inability to negotiate with their superiors, inability to negotiate with their juniors, who potentially could also be Gen Zs, who come with very clear set of rules and boundaries, which I really commend them for. Inability to negotiate with themselves as to what is it that they want, and they carry a notion of success which perhaps may not be the right one. And it often leads to a very unhappy life. And I'm reflecting here on the beautiful book that Christensen Clayton had written on how do you measure your life,
Yeah.
where he had done this entire research with 1,000 Harvard alums. And I mean, what
Yes.
came out of it was for the world to see. But that's what we see, unfortunately, a lot more. Is it to do with values or is it to do with anything else? I mean, what do you see is the trend? Is it very generational or has it been that way for a while for us in India?
Every career goes through its ups and downs, and there are those dark alleys that all of us have been through. Uh, the dark alleys that I have been down have been that of a lack of confidence, feeling a sense of inadequacy at the task that was ahead. I never got snowed in by technology because technology was established, but it was not the kind of disruptive technologies that you have today. My career never got impacted by AI because I was out of the boxing ring before AI could come in. But I think there are a few things that are important before you reach a stage like this. One of the things that I believe that corporate executives and indeed any entrepreneur needs to find time for reflection. We are between meetings, we are between flights, we are between hotels, we are between seminars, and we are between making deals all the time. And in that period, we don't stop to reflect and say, what the hell am I doing? You took a call 5 years ago to break with a corporate career and go and set up a school of public policy in Ahmedabad, right? That was your aha moment.
Yeah.
That said, I've had enough of this corporate world. I need to do something else in life. What most people do is that they come to a breaking point and then they take that call. And when you come to a breaking point and then you take a decision to suddenly go and go to the Himalayas, or you want to become a teacher, or you want to become a guide or whatever, it's a bit traumatic
Yeah.
because that decision then becomes a kind of unacceptable fallback option to you,
Yeah.
which you are forced into. However, if you reflect on yourself and reflecting on four factors: where am I going? What am I doing? What do I need to do? And what's in it for the family? If you
Beautiful.
debate these four questions and then you say that what am I doing? I'm doing what X, Y, and Z. What do I need to be doing? Question on what your competencies, skills, and capabilities are, right? Where am I traversing as far as the family is concerned? And what are my long-term goals in terms of achieving whatever I want to achieve? I think that sense of individual purpose is sometimes needs to be sharpened, recalibrated, and reflected upon. We don't find time for reflection. Doing a 10-day Vipassana course at some stage of life is good for you, but
Yeah.
you have to do the Vipassana in your brain much before that. Much before that. You have to do that much before that. And that
Yeah.
is the reason why you have so much of angst today. We are in a turbulent world. We are getting into an even more turbulent world.
Yeah.
We are going to have job losses, career losses, and I mean, even I was this morning reading the chief of Tata's, Mr. Chandrasekhar, a redoubtable, very competent business leader, talking about the fact that you need to protect your people, and you need to address issues of their mental health and wellness at this time. That is the captain of one of India's storied businesses addressing his people on the need to take care and nurture people and to reflect on their mental health and wellness. That is a telling statement. That is a telling statement because that means that that is really one of the factors affecting productivity, output, and outcomes in companies today. People just drop off the playbook. People are sick and tired of the shenanigans being played. And I think the role of a leader is very important as a coach, as a guide, as an elder brother, as an uncle, as a friend. These roles become extremely important. Productivity, output, and outcomes will happen. I ran a very successful company for 10 years. I never compromised on my principles of empathy, compassion, and decency and respect for people. That doesn't mean that I was any less aggressive as far as targets were concerned or as far as objectives were concerned. It was just that for me, these were important virtues that a leader must have and should have. And I think it is that reflection on where you are and what you're doing. Because many times what we do is we rationalize the reasons. Somebody gets
Mm.
promoted. The minute somebody gets promoted and you don't get promoted, you start immediately saying boss ka chamcha hai. If it happens to be a lady, the references are even more unpleasant. Now, does that help? I think you need to ask the question, why is it that I am not in that ring? Maybe there is something in me. And the more you reflect on yourself, it goes like the Doha of Kabir, बुरा जो देखन मैं चला बुरा न मिलिया कोई जो दिल खोजा अपना मुझसा बुरा न कोई. I think that reflection needs to be done by everybody at various stages of their career. Even today, I do it. I'm retired. I'm not seeking to please anyone or to do any great corporate feat, but still, I look at is participating on a Gopal Iyer podcast for me more enjoyable, more giving me happiness than sitting on a board of a company. I make my choices in that way, albeit limited, albeit a little less in terms of impactful. But it's
Yeah.
the same reflection that I believe that young corporate executives and entrepreneurs should have.
Very well said. And I'm hopeful that a lot of leaders listening into this would be able to make the right choices and the right reflections over the next few days. Because, like it or not, I mean, there are things that happen to us without our choices. I mean, we don't really control. And often I speak to a lot of people who unfortunately have gotten laid off in the last couple of years or couple of months. Some have a longer period of being at home and not knowing what to do. And my counter to that always is maybe there is a message in this that you're not
Yeah.
wanting to listen to. Things happen to us because there is a reason.
See,
You
Gopal,
may,
every man, every
yeah,
person, man or woman, has a unique skill
yeah,
that is unique to us. God has
yeah,
created it that way. Nature has provided it that way.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean that if you don't have a successful corporate career, that you're a useless person.
yeah,
It means you've got an alternate career somewhere else.
yeah, yeah.
And
And it
because
is for you
our
to figure that
matrix,
out.
our society matrix is all based on status. I hate it when people emphasize more on the fact that I was the chairman and managing director of a company than that I'm a human being, an individual, flesh and bones with my own weaknesses and strengths. That to me is more important than what I achieved in life. And that I believe, once again, in many careers, I honestly believe, and I say this with all conviction, is a matter of being at the right place at the right time and a bit of luck. There are numerous competent people. I have had the privilege of working with extremely intelligent, extremely competent, very well-heeled people. and yet they have not made a success of their careers in the traditional sense. You know, today you call me because you say the baggy crisis was one of India's most deep and hurtful corporate crisis. It went successfully. It went off well. The company resurrected and it's doing brilliantly well.
Yeah.
That's why I get the accolade to come and talk to you, Gopal, today. If that had been a failure, and if I had lost my job 10 years ago, it might have been a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are
For
so
sure.
many other factors that play into whether something is successful or unsuccessful. That doesn't mean that you have to be complacent.
Yeah.
That
Of
doesn't
course.
mean that you have to be apologetic. It only means that you have to look at things in perspective. Maybe a job is the next job that I'm going to get is very unpleasant and not the right kind of job for me. Maybe I'm going to be working with a bunch of toxic people who I dislike working with. Maybe I've got family priorities. I've got a son who needs to be taken care of, a daughter who needs to be taken care of, parents. All of us in middle age have the challenge of taking care of our parents, right? And that sometimes reprioritizes your life.
Yeah.
There is nothing right or wrong about it. That's what the reality is.
Yeah.
And that means that you have to do certain things which you may not want to do, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think equanimity and composure in being able to accept it. I think that Sharanagat, as they say, is really not, it's not surrender, it is acceptance. It is acceptance to the reality of life that sometimes we don't have, that creates this angst. We want to make believe what we are not and what we are not capable of doing, rather than the strengths that we have and that will make us who we are.
I think you put it across wonderfully. I have gone through several situations in my life where all I have done is just Sharanagati and allow things to happen, and it kind of has taken me totally different trajectory because you brought the Maggie crisis, and enough and more has been spoken about that in across media. So I'm not going to ask you the same question about what happened and what came out of it and all of that, but I want to look at that entire crisis from you as an individual, right? Whenever we go through as individuals, whenever we go through crisis moments, it is our inability to or ability to hold the fort that defines whether we are successful or not. People have this tendency of cracking under pressure. Now, you can blame it on the fact that they may not have been trained for it. They may not have had experiences and exposures that might have led them to not perform well in that situation. But I always believe also that there is a lot of inner work that leaders need to do. You spoke about reflection. There is also a deeper element of inner work that people need to work upon. How did you manage that entire crisis from personal perspective? Because there is a lot, of course, from what an organization did that is out in media and people would have already consumed it. But I want to look at that entire crisis from your side, and
Sure.
how did you approach that entire situation?
Good question. I just like to start with the statement that crisis doesn't come with a calling card. It doesn't come announcing itself saying that I'm a crisis, do something about me.
Yeah.
The quote from Anna Karenina, it opens with happy families are alike. Unhappy families are unhappy in their own way. And that
Oh,
is true about crisis as well. Every crisis has got its own color and its own nuance. And nobody, even the biggest Superman corporate leader, can ever say that they were fully prepared for a crisis. If they are bullshitting you saying that we are fully prepared for a crisis, I'm sorry to say that they're lying through their teeth. Because when a crisis happened, it hits you. And I was happily in the Philippines. I was the chairman of Nestle Philippines, one of the largest operations of Nestle worldwide. When I got the call from my global CEO and from my boss saying that we need you in India, right? So it wasn't that I was jumping with joy and saying that, oh my God, fantastic, what a great opportunity to go and put my hands in the fire. But I think two things one has to reflect upon at such a stage. The first stage is a crisis is never about, you should never take it as being something about you. The minute you personalize a crisis, you personalize the decision making process, you personalize the outcomes. That is a very dangerous thing. So the first thing that I did was, and you were alluding to it, and it's right. Managing the self is more than 50% of managing the crisis, because there are three stages in the crisis. One is understanding the problem. Number two is coping with the problem, and number three is interacting with the various stakeholders to mitigate the problem. That's really the three stages that you go through. And the big start to that is, if you assume that this is going to be a career breaker, as far as I'm concerned, then your reactions and actions will be completely detrimental to pulling yourself out of the crisis. Because you do the things from a self-centered perspective, never from an organizational perspective. That's why we say with age comes a bit of maturity and wisdom. I was in my mid 50s then, so I was not exactly a young rookie, right? Seeking to prove something to somebody. I'd already sort of established a certain level, modicum of success, having been the chairman of two operations of the company. So I said, it's not about me. It's about the fact, and for me, the Nestle India team was one of the most beloved teams that I've ever worked with. And I said, if I can do something for this fantastic team, for this great organization, I think I will count myself blessed. And I think at that time, my late father, he was alive then, he told me, he said, look, this is the call of duty. And he said, in a crisis, they don't throw an idiot. They will always throw in their best captain,
Yeah.
because that's what you need in order to rescue the company. So, one, don't internalize it to yourself. And number two is always focus on the purpose and values of the organization in dealing with the crisis. Never compromise on that. There were
Yeah.
various allusions at that point in time saying, you pay off X, Y, and Z and it will be solved. And I said, look, I have 10 rupees in my pocket that can buy that time a packet of Maggie. That's all I can give from my own pocket. Right? I can't give anything more than that, because I am from a company where ethics and honesty and integrity is far more important than anything else. Right? I need to have performed for a year. I don't think I'll get fired, right, in my time. But if I were to do anything unethical, I'll be fired on the spot. So I think the purpose and values for the organization is important. And then understanding the problem. A lot of time was spent in understanding what the problem was, where the problem was. And that's a call that the leader should take. And then spending time with the people. Because remember, there are people who are hurting. There were 8,000 employees of the company, many of them with long careers. And they used to come, and since I had an earlier track record in the company, they used to come and I used to go and talk to them. They were worried for their jobs, they were worried for their families, they were worried for their children, worried for their parents. They said, sir, if I at this stage of life, if I lose my job, then what will happen to me? Who will feed my family? But these are all real issues. The leader can't just catch hold of the HR director and say, now you go and sort it out. The leader has to stand up and be accountable. Dealing with stakeholders, communicating with stakeholders. You have to have the courage, you have to have the confidence, and you have to have the capability to talk. None of us is trained. My first interview to Shireen Bhan was for the few days after I joined. Nobody taught me how to talk to television. Nobody told me how to talk during a crisis. You learn as you go along. That's why leadership and maturity and competence and capability comes with a few knocks. And that's why it's important to manage yourself. Because if I was angry, if I was bitter, telling my team that you idiots, you pulled me out of Philippines and put me into India, I would have been a very different leader. I would have acted very differently.
Yeah.
And that would have been at the cost of finding a long-term solution to the problem. And plus, my team itself would have been even more demoralized, saying that, look, we already are in a mess. It's an existential crisis. On top of that, we got a leader who's bitter and angry and confused and creating more problems. So I think crisis is the best teacher as far as you discovering yourself. The Kabir Doha comes in full in a crisis. Mujhse bura na koi. That's when you realize that, my God, I have so many insecurities that I need to get over it. But when you get over it, when you are able to combat it, when you're able to master it, you come out the better as a human being, and you come out happier as a human being.
What comes to my mind as I hear this is the ability to serve, right? And the ability to serve comes only when we are content. And if I were to look at my own current state of mind, am I at peace with who I am?
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest struggles a lot of leaders are going through today, that they are not at peace with themselves. If you don't have a great relationship with yourself, how can you have great relationships with others, right?
See,
And
there is
that's
a deep sense of dissatisfaction with everything around you. You're dissatisfied with your road, you're dissatisfied with the traffic, you're dissatisfied with the pollution, you're dissatisfied with the boss, dissatisfied with the workplace, with your family, with your spouse, with your children, with expectations in life, and you're constantly wallowing in self-pity. I think one of the things that we have to look at more in life is gratitude. That you have a roof over your head, that you have food on the table, that you have got a spouse who's caring and loving and taking care of you, that you have children who still are doing their very best. Yes, you are not the president of the country or the prime minister of the country, but so what? In your own way, you are doing. You don't know what troubles that they go through. Every man and woman have their own path. You have to
yeah,
look at your own path and not envy the path of the others. And is our biggest killer. Somebody buys a car, I have to buy a car plus 100 cc. Somebody buys a house, I have to buy 2 bedrooms bigger, right?
yeah.
You keep chasing this, and ultimately, as they say in Hindi, khali haath aaye ho, khali haath jaoge.
There is no end
Empty
to it.
hands you come, and empty hands you're going to go. So all this hoo-ha in the middle, the dash in the middle, is too expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to shift focus to a very important aspect of people and their careers, which is planning their career. And given the work that I do, I work with a lot of college graduates who are just coming out of colleges, mid careers, of course, and then people who are in their mid 50s who are wanting to think about careers differently. I was just talking to a early 50s person, and he was like, I want to think about, I mean, I'm just going to retire in the next 5 years. I don't know what I'm going to do after that. And planning for a career in, let's say, 20, 25 years ago was very different. Like my parents would have planned, okay, I start my job in this company, I end it here, I retire from here. That's not the case today. You also have this entire set of population who have glorified this entire element of, I want to retire at 40. And you have this set of population who are actually getting laid off at 40, who don't know what to do. What does career planning mean? And how should someone getting into or in their mid career plan career in 2026?
Look, I have, in this day and age, Gopal, I have allergy to the word planning. We don't know what tomorrow is going to be like in terms of the global politics and the volatility that's taking place. And here we are doing long range planning. I think what is important is certain markers, certain markers in your life of certain excellence that you need to achieve. So I need to be mastering something, some skill, mastering some competence, mastering some capability, or learning something more in order to do something better is a much better way of planning your career than to look at. Often when I was in working, I used to go to campuses sometimes to interview youngsters. And one
Yeah,
of the most irritating questions I used to get was, how can I be in your chair in 10 years? And I used to think to myself, I said, look, have I been an idiot or a fool or a less than intelligent person to take 30 years to reach the same chair? I mean, this youngster looks at it in 10 years. I think the anxiety of planning reduces the pleasure of the journey.
beautiful.
And that can sometimes be a very, very distracting and detrimental feature of your life. And this was when we had the ladder careers. You became a sales manager, you became a brand manager at 5th year, you became a marketing manager at 10th year, you became a general manager at 15th year. By the 20th year, you were a director. By 25th year, you were a
Yeah.
chairman. Right? That's how it was. That was the career template. And then we used to have these career templates being actively propagated by HR, saying this is how career templates are going to look like. All that has become rubbish now. Organizations cease to exist at 48 hours notice. I mean, the youngsters in Oracle who had 12,000 people being retrenched, do you think they had what about their planning? They would have all planned also to be X, Y, and Z in their companies. So I think
Absolutely.
we have to take life as experiences. You have to take it in bite-sized modules. You have to have a general guideline of a few interests and a few markers that you want to achieve in life, and take life in that way. I think one of the other things is that the danger, and you realize it when you retire, is that you get so associated with your jobs.
Yeah.
I would rather be introduced as former chairman and managing director of Nestle rather than as Suresh Narayanan. And then when that is more important, I mean, who I am as a person is more important than the chair I occupy. But when that happens, you reach a stage, a point of no return, when everything that you seek after that is only reinforcing your recognition. How often have you attended conferences, Gopal, where you come across retired folks like me carrying visiting cards with 20 formers in the backside of that visiting card? Former director, former this, former that, former this, former that, member of the board of this, member of. What is all that? It's recruiting your ego so that the other man doesn't think that ye to retired aadmi hai. He looks at you and says, he's a great achiever. He's did all of this, 25 things he has done in life. That's how you think. But the other fellow looks at what a pain, he's going to come and explain all the 25 assignments to me now. So I think we have to take life, and now in this volatility, I think spending time taking care of your health, taking care of the health and well-being of your family, and taking care of your whatever savings and wealth that you have got in your hand is far more important than seeking the top job or the corner office. I'm not saying don't be ambitious, but don't be avaricious. There's a difference between ambition and being avaricious. Avaricious is when you want everything fast tracked. It won't happen that way. But yes, being ambitious, because all of us. I mean, I became the head of the company because I had an ambition that I wanted to be someone big in the company. But what would have happened had I not been that? I might have just been the person that I am today, because I would have said, okay, fine. I mean, I'm not. I'm probably not cut out for that job.
And that realization is okay. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that people find challenging is not to be okay with those realities, right? And
You
when
see,
they
because
when it hits
career
them,
markers and symbols of success have become far more important today than they were
yeah,
ever before. The whole branded world uh, of experiences and elitism has led us to that, and this is the price to pay. The price to pay is anxiety, ulcers, and angst, and that's the price to pay for this.
Mr. Narayan, I have a quick, short, rapid fire, if that is okay with you. There were to be an opportunity that you get where you have to advise to the 20-year-old self, what would that be?
I think two things. One is constantly calibrate and never lose your human spirit. Constantly
Wow.
calibrate. I think your environment around is constantly changing. It is different from my time. I could manage with skills that I acquired as a student reasonably well through most of my career, except when it became more complex and more difficult when I had to acquire new skills. But today, every 3 months and 6 months, things are changing.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly calibrate yourself and ensure that you're ready. It's like having run successfully 10 marathons doesn't qualify you for the necessary timing on the 11th marathon. The 11th marathon may just be over mountains and or terrain that you're unfamiliar with. How do you
Yeah.
prepare for that? And secondly, never lose your human spirit, because this age has all become has become one of aggrandizement, of avarice, of greed, and of hubris. Those are the social symbols of success. So somebody who's arrogant, who's got a lot of hubris, but who's sitting with tons and tons and pots of money, is respected more than a humble professor or a humble teacher or a humble student or a humble person who's getting by with life, but with honesty and dignity. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep that perspective in mind as the pain will increase over a period of time.
One skill that has kept you relevant across decades.
I think my ability to relate with people.
Relate with people.
I'm not the cleverest guy in the room. I'm not the greatest strategist. I'm not the greatest operations person. I'm not the greatest finance person. But it's my ability to connect the people and the dots that has helped me to reach whatever modicum of success, as you call it, happiness as I define it.
One mindset professionals must unlearn today.
I think complacence. I
Okay.
think the complacence is two things. Complacence is not only in the comfort of where you are, but also in a refusal to unlearn and relearn yourself. We talked earlier about why do career crisis happen to people, and they have a sense of loss and a sense of despair in the middle of their careers. It's because of that you do not want to see reality in the eye and say, look, I have to learn this. I mean, today every guy in the room has to know AI. Has to know AI. I mean, you may not like it, you may hate it. Claude was a French name till some time back, but now it is centerpiece, right? Chat GPT is a very uncomfortable acronym, but still it's essential. So these are all things that you have to pick up in order to survive.
One thing success gives but never satisfies.
It gives you a temporary sense of relief. It is like a conversation opener in a party. Then you go there and you say, okay, I'm somebody.
Yeah.
If there's a room full of 200 celebrities, you also go inside and say, I'm also someone. I've also done something.
Yeah.
But it never gives you long-term happiness.
Yeah.
The inner turmoil is always burning.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully put. One human trait no technology can replace.
Compassion.
Yeah.
You don't expect a machine. I mean, AI, whatever. I mean, though I'm not told, there are AI companions now. People actually get married. People get married to AI
Oh
men and
God.
women, right? No, we have reached so that AI companion should be capable. There's a movie also called Companion, which was based on an AI companion being married to or living with a tech guy. I don't know how that will feel like real, but hopefully it'll never be as compassionate as humans. And as the Dalai Lama said, compassion is the most under leveraged or underutilized
Very true.
emotion of human beings, and there is need for more of it as we tear apart ourselves across the world. I think we need more compassionate people.
One truth about the other half of success people discover too late.
I think there are a couple of truths about it that people do. One is a sense of completeness you get when you are successful, but nobody is entirely complete. There is still a feeling of emptiness in doing that, and a lack of hunger. When you are classified as successful, then you seldom have the hunger to do more. There are only a few people who actualize their skills for themselves. So they have an internal marker that is much stronger than the external manifestation of success. But for most people, you go, okay, I've done it. Take it. Let me just chill out. And sometimes, nothing wrong in it, but sometimes it can be detrimental to your own state of well-being.
Beautifully put. Mr. Naran, any parting thoughts for the audience listening in to this?
Look, I think we live in troubled times, Gopal. I'm not here to share with your audience any magic principles, but only some time-tested principles that has helped me in my career. Mine was a different age, was
Yeah.
in a different stage of the economy in the world. What your young listeners are going to go through is going to be a very much more ill-defined, opaque, and volatile world. In fact, as it has now been called, brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. That's a new term for VUCA now, called Bani.
Yeah.
And that's the world that we are in. And I think the more you stick to your moorings as a human being in a world of technology, rather than a world of technology in which you're a human being, which is what we are tending to behave. What we need to behave is human beings in technology rather than technology in human beings, because that is going to be the defining moment. The defining moment is how we are going to let technology treat humans,
Wow.
and what is leadership going to do about it. The best case user cases where humans are involved is far more important than the user cases where technology replaces humans. Because let's not forget that we still have a growing global population, and we have many young people aspirational, seeking jobs, seeking employment, and we can't go to the other extreme.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Mr. Narayan. Really appreciate you taking the time, speaking to us in the audience. I'm sure, while, as you said, there are no answers perhaps to some of the challenges that they are going to see, and there is no magic wand, the ability to stay with yourself, the ability to reflect, the ability to be more compassionate, are some of the things that I'm going to take away, and also use this as a medium to share this with people whoever I talk to. So, I mean, one other thing that became very clear is the fact that success truly is has two halves, right? There is one half the world sees, which is the titles, achievements, promotion, scale, money, and there is the other half, which is the part that asks whether have you stayed human through it,
Yeah.
and whether you stay grounded, and whether you stay open enough to keep evolving, reinventing, unlearning, and whether you see success, whether it has deepened you, not just elevated you, if I can say that. And that's what we discussed at length today,
We
folks. And
reflect on these things, Gopal, very, very late in life.
yeah,
At a certain stage in life, you realize, I wish I had been more compassionate, more empathetic, more
yeah,
human, more less cutting, right? Uh, being a better human, being a better father, being a better husband, being a better son.
yeah,
All that, time unfortunately doesn't allow you second chances.
yeah.
And you have to do it as you go along. And I think it is
Yeah.
that message that I would like to leave.
Wonderful. And you're so true. We often, as you said as well, that whenever we have to introduce ourselves, we say we are so and so at this place. But that's not us. That is one part of who we are. And there is much more to us than just the title and the brands that we carry. So, with that, Ms. Narayan, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate, and I'm sure with when this episode goes live, people will have a lot of thoughts and reflections and comments, and I'll be more than happy to share them with you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Gopal. And I hope at least something of what I've said is of relevance and is of use
Absolutely. Absolutely.
to people
Absolutely.
as they navigate their lives. Thank you very much.